President Hearn, it is with pleasure that I present for the conferring of the degree those who have completed the requirements of the faculty of Wake Forest University Graduate School for the degree Doctor of Philosophy.
Under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Melson and the graduate faculty, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Philosophy.
Candidates will be hooded by their faculty advisors. Please hold your applause until all the degrees have been awarded. Christopher Morgan Ashwell, faculty advisor, Dr. Mark Lively. Christopher S. Breivogel, faculty advisor, Dr. Steve Childers. Honglang Kai, faculty advisor, Dr. James C. Fishbein. Federica Chachi Woolwine, faculty advisor, Dr. Stephen Mizell. The candidate will be hooded by Dr. Griffith Parks. Meredith Mary Daniel, faculty advisors, Drs. Bradley Jones and Robert Swafford. Dr. Swafford. Holly Renee Ellis, Dr. Leslie Poole, faculty advisor. Felicia Dare Goodram, faculty advisor, Dr. David Ornelas. Michael Forrest Ingram, faculty advisor, Dr. Gregory Shellness. Mona Savitri Javeri, faculty advisor, Dr. Charles Morrow. Mark Todman Kirby, faculty advisor, Dr. Samuel Deadweiler. Cynthia Judson Lees, faculty advisor, Dr. Christopher Jerome. The candidate will be hooded by Dr. Kathy Carlson. Sharon Ray Letchworth, faculty advisor, Dr. Linda Perino. Zongyu Lee, faculty advisor, Dr. Thomas Smith. Martha Wilson Love, faculty advisor, Dr. Paul Dawson. Susan Marie Mokas, faculty advisor, Dr. Kent Vrana. Susan K. Murphy, faculty advisor, Dr. Griffith Parks. Poonam Narula, faculty advisor, Dr. Ronald E. Noftel. The candidate will be hooded by Dr. Bradley Jones. Charles Bradford Rhodes, Jr., faculty advisor, Dr. Bradley Jones. Ben Matthew Richardson, faculty advisor, Dr. Mark E. Welker. Craig Joseph Slowecki, faculty advisor, Dr. Herman Sampson. Alan Tackett, faculty advisor, Dr. G. Eric Matthews. John Thornton Tansey, faculty advisor, Dr. B. Mosley Waite. Victoria Lynn Turgeon, faculty advisor, Dr. Lucien Huenu. Please join with me in congratulating these recipients of the Doctor of Philosophy degree. candidates for the degree Master of Arts, please stand. President Hearn, these students have completed the course of study for the Master of Arts degree and are presented for the conferring of the degree.
Under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Melson and the graduate faculty, I confer upon you the degree Master of Arts.
Dr. Robert Shorter, Associate Dean of the Graduate School, has the honor of placing Wake Forest hoods on each of the candidates. Will the audience please withhold applause until all of the degrees have been awarded? Heather Michael Barnes. David Michael Bender. Marshall Scott Bovolsky. Jennifer Lynn Brown. Jennifer Lee Bryant. Joanna J. Caraway. Anthony Lynn Draper. Jennifer K. Estava. Rachel Lynn Fasten. Christia Hayes Fisher. Patricia Reed Gibbs. Amy Lynn Goldie. Audrey Ellen Hooker. Rebecca Benedum Mankowski. Jennifer Clayson Martin. Kara Verena Metzel. Laura Ingram Moore. Junior Muruka. Lisa A. Neff. Susan Everett Osborne. Elizabeth Lindsay Parkhurst. W. Mark Peck. Jason K. Phillips. June Turner Piscatelli. Keith Dwayne Pitzer. Danielle Powell. Ashley Ann Quisenberry. George C. Ritlakis. Catherine D. Satterthwaite. Tracy Ellen Summers. Satomi Sugiyama. William Hunt Terrell. Robin Ninette Weisenhofer. Angela Elizabeth Waldrop. Will the candidates for the degree Master of Science please stand? President Hearn, these students have completed the course of study for the Master of Science degree and are presented for the conferring of the degree.
Under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Melson and the graduate faculty, I confer upon you the degree Master of Science.
John Jeffrey Carr. Hogben Chen. Melinda Jane Dersham. James E. Dorff. Kristen Darlene Jadalis. Marcy Lee Johnson. Natalie Nicole Laprade. Leslie Diane Lutz. Jennifer Lee Olive. James Kevin Scott. Ramon V. Williams. Paul William Zengel. The candidates for the Master of Arts in Education degree, please stand. President Hearn, these students have completed the course of study for the Master of Arts in Education degree and are presented for the conferring of the degree.
As president, under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Melson and the graduate faculty, I confer upon you the degree Master of Arts in Education.
Cynthia Ann Briggs. Brittany Nicole Campbell. Catherine Watson Cook. Heather Elizabeth DeVault. John Francis Devon Meal III. Kelly Wall Harris. Deirdre Renee Johnson. Amy R.O. Laughlin. Shelley Marie Mangas. Kimberly Arlene Mills. LaTonya Denise Mitchell. Marjorie Heskin. Shannon Lynette Prater. Reagan Elizabeth Redding. Catherine Michelle Sini. Christine Marie Thornton. Will the candidates for the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies degree please stand? President Hearn, these students have completed the course of study for the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies degree and are presented for the conferring of the degree.
As president, under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Melson and the graduate faculty, I confer upon you the degree Master of Arts in Liberal Studies.
Karen Miller Bennett. Julia McCarthy Bitting. Arthur Franklin Fuller III. Douglas Stephen Henderson. Rondalyn Dion Hickman. Sandra Ann Farrell McHenry. Harold David Parks. Danny Lee Robertson. Elizabeth A. Whitehouse. Will the candidates for the degree Master of Science in Accountancy please stand? President Hearn, these students have completed the course of study for the Master of Science in Accountancy degree and are presented for the conferring of the degree.
Under the authority of the trustees and upon the recommendations of Deans Melson, Wilkerson, and the faculty of the Callaway School of Business and Accountancy, I confer upon you the degree Master of Science in Accountancy.
Dr. Jack Wilkerson, Dean of the Callaway School of Business and Accountancy, has the honor of placing Wake Forest hoods on each of the candidates. Jonathan David Adinolfi. Haywood Dubose Armstrong. Karen West Baker. Brett William Balsinger. Kevin Lake Batson. Charles Ronald Bauer Jr. Hope Elizabeth Brackett. Monica Lachey Chappell. Ryan Nicholas DiCrescenzo. Maria Elizabeth Ferry. Brian Christopher Hamble. Meredith Kathleen Hatch. Andrew Ray Haltgrew. Thomas Wilson Horner. Mary Catherine Hostinsky. Lawrence Edward Jones. Alexander Lawrence Caton. David Walden Kearns. Paul Lawrence Leshway. Laurie Lynn Long. Tara Ann Murphy. Mary Alice Nix. Aaron Michael Oakley. Matthew Duncan Owens. Noelle Nicole Palmer. Laura Meg Rediker. Jennifer Lee Rhodes. Gregory Dale Rush. Keith Robert Signer. Sean Justin Sleep. Harold Wayne Smith Jr. Elizabeth Scott Stone. Jeffrey Brian Tikau. Elizabeth Ann Turk. Matthew Werner Wakefield. John Mark Yarborough, Jr. Please join me in congratulating all recipients of these master's degrees.
I recognize Dean Walsh of the Wake Forest School of Law.
I would ask the candidates for the Master of Laws in American Law to rise and approach the podium. Dr. Hearn, I'm particularly pleased to present these candidates who are the first Masters of Law candidates in the 104-year history of the Wake Forest University School of Law. Francesco Farini. Sabrina Brewster Zunkin.
Dean Escott of the College of Arts and Sciences to present candidates for bachelor's degrees.
Before I begin, the faculty marshals have asked me to read this message to the candidates for degrees. You and your classmates have worked hard to get to this day. As new Wake Forest alumni, please show your fellow classmates courtesy and respect by returning to your seats and remaining through the ceremony. For the recessional, you will march through a receiving line of faculty who wish to congratulate you upon your graduation. Thank you for your cooperation. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please proceed to the platform? President Hearn, these members of the class of 1998 have been certified by the faculty of Wake Forest College as having met all the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
As president, under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Escott and the faculty of Wake Forest College, I confer upon you the degree Bachelor of Arts.
Kiana Monique Aaron. Theo Simon Abbott. Marwan Iqbal Abedin. Laura Elizabeth Acton. Susanna Camp Adams. Andrew Adamsbaum. Jennifer Alexandra Alcorta. Timothy Alexander. Amy Elizabeth Allen. Lynn Michelle Almanson. Christopher Vernon Anderson. Clara Ann Adele Andrews. Lisa Nicole Andries. Jason Andrew Aquilino. Alexandra Aramas Mead. William Pruitt Ashworth. Scott Lowe Askew. Nathan Bowen Atkinson. Thomas J. Hayes Atride. Christine Renee Auburn. Rachel Farron Avon. Daniel Wood Baker. Frances Nicole Baldwin. Jacqueline Ruth Ball. Patricia Marie Baratini. Amanda Ruth Barger. Jessica Lynn Barker. Amy Lynn Barnett. Mary Carolyn Barrett. Karen Lynn Bauer. Leo George Beckman III. Sabaoth Lily Bekela. Jennifer Elaine Bell. Philip Griffin Bell. Carrie Hain Benefield. Mark Richard Bennett. Jason Robert Benton. Kyle J. Berquist. Rosetta Adokwa Bernasco. Everett Webster Berry IV. Kathleen Suzanne Biddick. James Roger Biddison. Allison Borden Bilheimer. Elizabeth Jennings Bishop. Suzanne Elizabeth Blakeney. Jason Severe Blunt. Tyrone Curtis Bogues. Brian David Bohannon. Marla Larice Bost. Shannon Lee Bothwell. Michael Randall Burke. Carrie Michelle Bowden. Benjamin James Boyd. Emily Catherine Boyd. Jill Lynn Boyd. Lauren Alexandra Boyle. Jerry Braswell Jr. Emily Marie Brewer. Rebecca Elizabeth Frock. John Wesley Brooker. Alexander DeVries Brown. Judith Schreier Brown. Richard Lee Buff. Suzanne Nicole Burrick. Elizabeth Ann Burke. Anne Marie Burkett. Michael Ryan Burns. Christopher John Buttimer. Frank Edmund Burns Jr. Daniel Michael Cagiano. Lori Annette Carter. Stephen DeWitt Carter. Christy Lynn Castle. Christopher Charles Cathcart. Kristen Mary Celalo. Chantal Marie Chapman. Paidemoy O'Brien Chersika. Thurman Lee Chestnut Jr. Rachel Claire Childs. Lane Hanley Choplin. Andrew Gregory Clark. Terrace Durand Clark. Elizabeth Hoyt Clark. Kyle Brock Clary. Robert Rakes Cluis. Amy Dolores Cloud. Jason Michael Cogdell. Ebony Shani Cohen. David Gordon Collier. Nancy Ala Comorau, Robin Michelle Cook, Stephen Hunter Cook, Laura Avery Cooley, Muhammad Yunus Kuvadia, Catherine Jean Quobier, Kelly Lynn Corcoran, Rebecca Grace Cowan, Douglas Brian Kretz, Ellen Stanley Cross, Kate Travers Crowley, Cara Marie Sinzik, David Ernest Cunningham, Gregory Baird Curtin, LaJonda Renee Dalton, Suzanne Karen Danks, Julie Johnson Davis, Southard Ann Davis, Tabiti Naeem Davis, Danielle DeAngelis, Megan Elizabeth Deerdorf, Danielle Lynn Deaver, Ann Thurston Debnam, Joseph Anthony DeMarco, Brian Andrew Denton, Patrick John Deppenbrock, Alvin James Detterline IV, Haley Elizabeth Detweiler, Sarah Whitehurst Devaney, Jessica L. DeVetter, Alan Ronald Dickinson, Michael Joseph DePasquale, Andrew Charles Dockham, Jamie Susan Darcett, Amy Michelle Dotson, Kristen Adele Doherty, Jennifer Ellen Drennan, Jordan Bennett Dropkin, Elizabeth Ashley Duncan, Eric Michael Dunn, David James Dwyer, Amy Kathleen Eckert, Laura Catherine Edwards, Allison Margette Eisenberg, Sarah Best Indeman, Obadiah Gildersleeve English, Kristen Elizabeth Epley, Caroline Escobar, Ernest Bradley Evans, Kelly L. Evans, Brian Andrew Everly, Zachary Hayden Everson, David Matthew Ryan Ezra, Jeffrey Brian Ferencrog, Thomas Griffin Falcon, Courtney Clayton Farley, Laura Brooke Farron, Andrew William Ferguson, Clem Fernandez, Jason Matthew Fiftall, Katie Marie Finkbeiner, Patrick Tallman Fitzgerald, Molly Ann Fitzpatrick, Raymond Loran Floyd Jr., Courtney Page Foley, Amy Carol Fonville, Thomas Nelson Foran, Carrie Lewis Foster, John Robert Fulzer, Catherine Noel Fox, Michelle Virginia France, Christopher A. Frankland, Jim Frazier, Karen Elizabeth Friedman, Paul Cam Fife, Shannon Hope Gardner, Alicia Ann Garrett, Michelle Laurie Gasparini, Andrew Cook Gately, Jennifer Kristen Gentili, Sarah Cairns George, Amy Elizabeth Gibbons, Eustacia Charisse Gibbs, Matthew James Gilly, Ryan Walter Geoffrey, Ellen Julian Godfrey, Christine Elizabeth Goldhawk, Meredith Bost Goodrum, Brian Allen Goolsby, Emily Jean Gormley, Jennifer Osneve Goff, Elizabeth Chenault Gray, Todd Halderson Gray, Daniel Aaron Green, Robert David Greenewalt, Christopher Richard Graslak, Nathan Paul Gross, Bharat Kumar Gumadi, Gregory David Habib, Brett Thomas Hacksaw, John Christian Haig, Jason Jennings Hall, John Selden Hamilton, Robert Brian Hamilton, Sarah Catherine Hammonds, Shane Warren Harris, Amy Elizabeth Harrison, Jenny Rebecca Harrison, David Patrick Hart, Craig Lewis Hartzog, Agnes Reinhardt Harvey, Ryan Michael Hatcher, Lee Allison Hatchett, Eric Matthew Houth, Jamie Danielle Head, Nancy Rankin Heckenblickner, Christopher Robert Heim, Andrew Charles Hennessy, Todd Robert Hennickson, Brent Russell Hickman, Sarah Louise Hicks, Terry Elizabeth Height, Erica Oline Hilla, John David Hocutt, Hunter Gibson Honeycutt, Ann Claire Horsley, Maria Dawn Huff, Sarah Elizabeth Hovis, Edwin Arthur Howard, Haslin Andrew Howard, Cassie Joe Howell, Emily Marie Hudspeth, Tracy Darlene Hunt, Elizabeth Faye Amende, Dana Catherine Ivy, Amy Christine Izo, David James, Holly Amanda Gerald, April Dolores Jeffries, Jennifer Denise Jenkins, Randall Carter Jenkins, Carrie Ann Johannesmeyer, Stacy Lynn Johns, Amanda K. Johnson, Lucas Figner Johnston, Sarah Melinda Johnston, Peter Neil Jonas, Kalmani Lynn Joshi, Ralph Algemont Joyner, Elizabeth Ann Kalida, McHenry James Kane, Molitina Karapanajotis, Brian Michael Carr, Jennifer Ellen Kay, Kareen Lee Kanan, Melissa A. Kellogg, Catherine Ann Kendrick, Amanda Elizabeth Kennedy, Joseph Christopher Kennedy, Jessica Ann Kent, Young Sung Kim, Laura Elizabeth Kirby, William Ross Kellstrom, Megan Elizabeth Kleinfelder, Timothy Colin Knopf, Jamie Lynn Kosinski, Jennifer D. Kresge, Benjamin Andrew Crick, Keith Andrew Crutt, David Arthur Kunkel, Elizabeth Helen Lake, Scott Alexander Lamont, Micah Ann Lampe, Stacy Marie Landis, Emily Elizabeth Lapierre, Elizabeth Page Lassen, Jennifer Catherine Laudadio, Susan Michelle Lee, Matthew J. Limpner, Elizabeth Ann Lennox, Shannon Whitney Leonard, Meredith Jane Lester, Whitney Dawn Lester, Amanda Michelle Lewis, Herman Eugene Lewis Jr., Melvin Rodney Lewis, Samantha Marie Ligon, Jennifer McPherson Lister, Jonathan Waite Lohr, Renee Eileen Lewis, John Watkins Lovett, Beth Allison Lunsford, Jeffrey Todd Lynch, Raymond Chauncey Lynch Jr., Glenn McGregor Lyon, Scott Thomas McDonald, Heather Jean McKay, Kevin Michael Malone, DeBeth Scalicia Mans, Catherine Jean Mansell, Mark David Marchand, Takia Nio Mark, Jane Whiteford Martin, Andrew Altman Matthews, Kevin Alden Maxwell, Scott Hardy Main, Catherine Mills McCandless, Dwayne Eric McClurkin, Jonathan Eric McCracken, Angela Dawn McElreath, Jennifer Lee McGill, Anthony Joseph McMahon, Eamon Alice McMillian, John Laird McMullen III, Telly Ali Meadows, Mary Kathleen Mertiz, Kendall Cook Meyer, Damian Rodley Millett, Catherine Wright Mitchell, Jamie Christine Miaris, Heather Ann Moon, Farah Page Moore, Matthew Douglas Morris, Leslie Lucille Mountcastle, Erin Kate Mulhern, Christopher Paul Mullen, Kristen Eleanor Musina, Elizabeth Lee Neathawk, Jennifer Lynn Neeb, Stephen Michael Neff. Elizabeth A. Nelson, Jessica Ann Nelson, Miles Franklin Nelson, Kelly Ann Newell, Patrick Andrew Noble, Richard and Anthony Noga, Scott Edwards Notestein, Sean R. Nowak, Johnson Scott Nye, Elizabeth Creighton O'Brien, Kenneth Reese O'Brien, Kevin Michael O'Brien, Carolyn Murray Odom, Elizabeth A. O'Donovan, Nathan Olney, Laurie Jean Olson, Tiffany Lorice O'Neill, Matthew John O'Neill, Alexander Lynn Orr, John Randall Owen, Fred Kevin Palm, Elizabeth Lynn Parker, Lauren Jill Patty, Stephen Urban Patton, Jordan Christopher Paul, Diana Lynn Peacock, Michelle Hanley Peacock, Natalie Rose Penland, Ramon Manuel Perez III, Catherine Elliott Perry, Christine Davis Person, Benjamin Roland Peterson, Riche Monique Phillips, Brian Anthony Pianca, Daniel Robert Pickett, Shannon Michael Poe Kennedy, Ashley Ann Polson, Matthew Ronald Porio, Morgan McNeil Petit, Michael Halstead Ramsayer, Ann Jordan Randall, Ashley Ann Randolph, John Allen Reagan, Latonya D. Reynolds, Theodore Rice, William Coleman Rice, Jr., Jessica C. Richardson, Lauren Page Richardson, Elizabeth Diane Ritter, Peter Elliott Reeves, Rebecca Lynn Robbins, Victor L. Roberts III, Kimberly Renee Robinson, Faye Lawana Ann Rodman, Amy Michelle Roebuck, Jacqueline Hughes Rogers, Timothy Duffy Rogers, David Wade Romhill, Justin Charles Roof, Jill Elizabeth Rosa, Sari Rachel Rose, Jennifer Jean Ross, Kenneth A. Rufo, Claire Ellen Rumberger, Jonathan Dearborn Russell, Anthony Rutland, Gregory Vernon Sage, Miles Christopher Savage, Lauren King Bordone, Sarah Elizabeth Schick, Kristen Lee Schiller, Beth Allison Schwartz, Stacy Tara Schwartz, Charles Andrew Seitz, Julia Christine Settle, Ralph William Sevelius Jr., Maren Kathleen Shaughnessy, Megan Elizabeth Sheehy, Jeremy Austin Shelton, Susan Elizabeth Schuler, Jeffrey Howard Sigmund, Matthew Palmer Silverston, Elizabeth Ann Simmons, Mark Eric Sirotkin, Elizabeth Ann Skladany, David Terrell Slade, Clyde Darrell Slapey, Ann Conley Sloan, Allison Elizabeth Smith, Ashley Gail Smith, Brandy Jana Smith, David Michael Smith, Latre Viette Danine Smith, Stephen Howard Smith, Kai Russell Sneed, D'Angelo Solomon, Cherie June Spencer, John Oatley Stanford Jr., Charles Woodruff Starks, Daniel Lewis Stern, Janelle L. Stern, Marissa Renee Stocklin, Autumn Don Stokely, Mark P. Stopa, Bradley Charles Strunk, Terrence William Suber, Andrew Joseph Tasca, Virginia Gray Tate, Craig Allen Taylor, David Cordell Taylor, Margaret Evans Taylor, Sarah Elizabeth Tallheimer, Michael Coleman Therrell, Elizabeth Page Thompson, Glenn Clark Thompson, Jessica Jan Thompson, Keith Everett Thompson, Kristen Sarah Thompson, John Thacker Thurman, Sarah Ellen Tollison, Jamie Elisa Tomhave, Meredith Elizabeth Townsend, Leona Frances Irene Trombley, Matthew Thomas Tall, Emily Phipps Turner, Terrence Hugh Terrell, Deborah Marie Tyson, William Thomas Tyson, Jr., Jill Christine Van Pelt, Carmen Moss Vaughn, Elizabeth Joy Vermillion, Paul Martin Volpe, Spencer T. Wagner, Kara Christine Walker, Jason Bradley Wall, Robert Hammock Wall, Kelly Diane Wallace, Catherine Lindsay Ward, Bonnie Victoria Warren, Kristen Nicole Warren, Christy Renee Warrington, William James Watson, Jamison Lee Weinbaum, Dennis Wayne Westney Jr., Christopher M. Whidden, Benjamin Harvey White III, Joanna Marie White, Stacy Deshawn White, Jennifer Bernice Whitty, Jesse Damon D.M. Wilbur, Neil A. Wildrick, Michelle Lee Wilkinson, Jackson Hill Williams, Valerie Karen Williamson, Stephen William Willis, Bethany Jean Wolfe, Jamie Michelle Womack, George Thomas Wood IV, Lindsay Ann Wood, John Harvey Wright IV, Erin Michelle Waller, Adia Joy Jurgen, Catherine Case Yelverton, Christopher Anthony Yoro, Derek Andrew Yost, Abigail D. Young, Lance Edward Young, Adam John Zajac, Cheryl Zimmerman.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science please proceed to the platform? President Hearn, these members of the class of 1998 have been certified by the faculty of Wake Forest College as having met all the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science.
As president, under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Escott and the college faculty, I confer upon you the degree Bachelor of Science.
Lauren Michelle Abate. Adria Holly Abrams. Dennis Marie Akinch. Maria Michelle V. Alavanya. Jeffrey Blake Alpert. Beth A. Amos. Jamie Temple Anderson. Ronald William Angerer. Anna Maria Arsenegas. Jennifer Jill Auerbach. Leslie Ann Bay. Andrea Marie Barreto. Amy Kathleen Bassett. Michael David Baldry. Sherry Diane Black. Summit Bora. Christine Renee Brelio. Holly Renee Brooks. Catherine Lynn Brown. Rachel Victoria Bryant. Matthew Anthony Burns. Thomas Sumner Callahan. Casey McCrae Campbell. Michael Stephen Cartwright. Sharice Diane Childers. Virginia Taylor Cox. Tracy Beth Cranston. Jeffrey Scott Cruz. Patrick Michael Cullen. Stephen Charles Curran. Caitlin Beth Curtin. Andrew Edward Darby. Chantal Mira Diltzer. Laurie Ann Driscoll. Heather J. Dukes. Robert Mitchell Ellison Jr. Karen Amanda Ellis. Margot McRae Eves. Colleen Elizabeth Fahey. Tracy A. Fava. Kenneth James Feely. David Christopher Fenton. Kent Ferreira. Elizabeth Ann File. Leonie Masters Fleischman. Amanda Marilyn Freeman. Kristen A. Fretz. Andrew R. Fry. David Eric Frisvold. Michael Edward Franchek. Rebecca Alden Frost. James J. Gallagher, Jr., Carla Natalie Galelli, Judson Payne Garbarino, Christina Ann Getman, Carrie Elizabeth Gilsonen, Colby Lee Grant, Aaron Rachel Graves, James Douglas Graves, Amy Elizabeth Grimm, Jamie Marie Gidry, Christopher Thomas Halpin, Thomas Allen Halsey, Emma Rebecca Hanslick, Clyde Peebles Harris III, Heather Gale Harris, Alan Slade Harvin, Patricia Ann Hatchett, Susan Irene Hayes, Joseph Stephen Healy, Nancy Jane Helms, Hilal Nadi Hebri, Allison J. Hilton, Leanne Mayo Hodges, Catherine L. Huffman, S. Brett Huntington, Francia Ann Hutton, Jennifer Ruth Jarrett, David James Johnson, Angela Marie Jones, Heather Ann Jones, Sikare Yaba Kazim, Whitney Elizabeth Kelly, Emily Tolles Kilburn, Todd Alexander King, David Jesse Kirby, David S. Kretzmer, Amy Michelle Lazinski, Matthew Charles Lane, Neil Matthew Lutzy, Ari Misha Swam Levine, Takesha Urusha Lindler, Holly Amber Lytle, Mark Warren Little, Christopher T. McGuire, Mark George Makovic, Gretchen Ann Mengelsdorf, Michael Lee Mariani, Roger John Marino, David Theon Marshburn II, Brent Howard Martin, Jonathan Philip Massey, Megan Chase McCarthy, David Cooper McCoy, Melinda Ruth McElveen, Catherine Elaine Merrill, Catherine Frances Meyer, Stacia Christine Miles, Lindsay Beth Mitchell, Samara Gray Mitchell, Melissa Catherine Majesko, Philip Schmitz Moore, John L. Morris, Kelly Susan Morrison, David Bryant Nichols, Alexa Ballas Nymphy, Hannah Elizabeth Edinger, Michael Todd O'Keefe, Gregory Omar Omland, Brian Daniel Ostaszewski, Teresa Ray Ubre, Bradley Gerald Outerkirk, Georgia Papa F. Thamio, Catherine B. Parker, Meredith Sloan Parks, Emily Hay Parrish, Manisha Joshbay Patel, Julia Ann Percy, Tremaine A. Perry, Kristen J. Peterson, Rhonda Joyce Pollard, Gray Wilson Powell, Joseph Patrick Purcell, Sherry Dawn Quisenberry, Kimberly Bray Rado, Adam Vaught Rainwater, Ram Bahadur Ranjikar, Sharice Natasha Rice, Tiffany Elise Rice, Michael A. Riley, Jonathan Mark Lee Rogers, Michelle Lynn Rose, Kenneth Taylor Royston, Jennifer Kristen Salyer, Aaron Coleman Schachter, John Proctor Wesley Schneider, Kimberly Curran Shutsky, Allison Lutz Segal, Cyril Rudolph Shepard Jr., Michael Christian Shirk, Benjamin Andrew Sibley, Jared Michael Sisk, Aurora Darlene Smith, Marcus Hilton Snow, Francis Raymond Soriano, Sharon Kathleen Spilker, Dana Marie Steinley, Adam Nakia Stockton, Justin Browning Swan, Paul Edward Swinson, Timothy James Tasso, Taryn Marlowe Toval, Ronald Raymond Vance, Jr., Will Roland Volsky, Avni Dekumar Vias, Wendy Nicole Wade, Jared Miller Wagner, R. Carlton Ward, Jr., Christopher Douglas Watson, Brian Gary Webb, Stephanie Lori Waddell, Anushi Priyangika Veterakun, Amanda Elaine Welburn, Nicole Lynn Wellman, Mark Richard Whiteman, Rob J. Wigand, Heather Elizabeth Wiley, Suzanne Elizabeth Willers, Jill Kimberly Wilson, Corey Michael Winnig, Michelle DeGarland Wood, Elizabeth Caroline Wright, J. Marin Wright, Jennifer Marie Yezik, Zachary Zimmerman, and Jason David Zook. Our congratulations to each of these new graduates.
I call upon Jack Wilkerson, Dean of the Callaway School of Business and Accountancy, to present the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Business and Accountancy.
Will the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Business Administration please proceed to the platform? President Hearn, these members of the class of 1998 have been certified by the faculty of the Wayne Callaway School of Business and Accountancy as having met all the requirements for the degree Bachelor of Science in Business Administration.
As president, under the authority of the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of Dean Wilkerson and his faculty, I confer upon you the degree Bachelor of Science.
Emily Louise Abernathy, Larry Benton Alexander Jr., John David Anderson, Kenneth Randall Archer, Judy Oregonello, Lule Aiden, Jeffrey Todd Bankowitz, Renee Joanne Barnett, David Scott Beardsell, Brooke Woodman Beebe, Heather Jean Bentley, Timothy Ronald Blue, Rebecca Lee Bogle, William Davis Byerly, Darrell Wayne Carter, Laurie Dawn Cheek, Virginia Louise Cherry, James Ishin Cho, Laura Lee Clark, Brad Falls Clowney, Allison Catherine Cole, Charles Talmadge Cole III, Jeffrey Michael Coleman, Kelly Lane Compton, Allison Lauren Costa, Matthew Wayne Cronland, Alexander Nicholas Curtis, Jill Marie Deisler, Ryan Nicholas DiCrescenzo, Ihor Datsinko, Jessica Ryan Dreisbach, Takia Kennett Edmond, Mark James Einloth, Jennifer Tandy Eschen, Ashley Covington Estwanick, Monica L. Fernand, Karen Lynn Frecco, John Philip Gallimore, Stefan Killian Gassner, Tyler David Gates, Alfred Blake Gale, Michael John Gear, Christopher L. Girding, Jeffrey D. Giles, Keith Allen Gindoff, Elizabeth Gordon, Jennifer Krista Greer, Leslie Cole Gregory, Melanie Toba Griff, Brian David Hall, Duncan Clay Hall, Courtney Elizabeth Hallman, Brian Christopher Hamble, John Todd Herring, Charles Robinson Harlan, T. Anthony Harlan, William E. Harrington III, Sophia T. Harvey, Jason Aaron Hayes, William Early Hayes, Dylan McLean Heck, Marcy Helm, Robert Moore Holcomb, Ward Kirby Horton, Lawrence Edward Jones, Robert Davis Jones, Manda Michelle Calbestrand, Hunter Craig Kemper, Matthew Davidson Kerr III, Charles Cromer King, Anders Olav Klemmer, Thomas Walter Corona, Kenny Kern Goyo Kuguru, James A. Landon, Amanda Lee Latham, Monica Kim Lehman, Deanna Marie Lewis, Jennifer Sue Lewis, Jason William Lowe, Daniel William John Lush, Heather Ann Mahoney, Michael A. Mena, Ryan Francis Marsh, Lisha Suzanne Maxwell, Jennifer Lynn McDonald, Aaron Suzanne McFarland, William Lewis McGee Jr., Brett Jason McGuire, James Francis McHale, Brian Wesley McKim, Anitra Sherrod McCrae, Lee Dresden Mildren, Carter Conway Miller, Joshua Robert Miller, Richard George Minnick, Julie Ann Mitchell, William Kemp Mullaney, James Thrower Myrick, Mary Alice Nix, Karen Michelle Osborne, Ashley Forsyth Parker, Joseph William Parkhill, Monil Suresh Patel, Sean Thomas Pierce, William Robert Pekowitz Jr., Ivy McPherson Perdigan, Chad Christopher Peshak, Scott Stewart Plumridge, Peter Brendan Princey, Charles Garrett Putman, Amy Allison Piles, Michael James Rabenstein, Megan Marie Reardon, Jason Dallas Riffle, Sherry Nicole Wrights, Jonathan Paul Rabalato, Michael A. Rail, John Matthew Rowan, Karen Marie Razanza, Ross Martin Samchalk, Norman Wesley Sanderson III, Carrie Lynn Schaefer, Kurt G. Schatzberger, Landon Scott Sink, Joshua Milan Smith, Ryan John Suave, Andrew Allen Southern, Amy Catherine Spees, Jennifer Irene Stewart, Amy Rose Stribling, Robert William Sturris, Timothy William Stute, Todd Christian Sumner, Allison Diane Todd, Catherine Diane Tompkins, Matthew Baird Trenchard, Paul Martin Trumbore, Laura Thomas Tucker, Jeremy Michael Weber, David Ryan Wilkins, Kristen Marie Wanka. Congratulations to these graduates.
I call upon Lieutenant Colonel Donald Moser for the ROTC conditioning.
Distinguished guests, graduates, families, and friends. A great day for all, but a particularly special moment now for 10 exceptional young Americans and their families, and an exciting period for the Wake Forest Military Science Program. Today, we share in recognizing just a few of our nation's best and brightest, who over the next few days in literally every state in our wonderful nation will launch themselves, just as these 10, into a life of challenge, service, and tremendous self-satisfaction. Our program, and I stress our program, is a regional leader by every measure. That reputation grows nationally every year, a trend I am both proud and appreciative of. Proud because our most recent graduates helped re-energize the program, and appreciative because of a most supportive university administration and student body. And now, our most recent graduates will repeat the oath to become officially commissioned officers in the United States Army. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name. Having been appointed an officer in the United States Army in the grade of second lieutenant, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office about which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations. "30 minutes following the conclusion of commencement, individual and more personal bar pinning ceremonies and a group reception will be held in the Military Science Department at Reynolds Gymnasium. Family and friends are invited. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the commissioning ceremony.